in college, but long before you were even.
Oh, I don't know.
So, so we had a different set of rules.
Sort of.
Yeah.
And we had
Yeah,
microphones.
and there wasn't any Zoom and computer classes.
Can you hear me through the mic?
Right?
It was back
Yeah.
when you had
We
to
ready?
learn.
We don't have video up here. I don't know what's going on.
Okay. So I'm not sure if you guys can hear us, but we can finally hear you. Yay!
Yay.
Okay.
And we
hear you
can
too.
see you. Video is coming through onto Zoom within the boardroom there. So,
Okay, we are ready to start the meeting. Marshall's just working on the display inside the room here.
Okay. Okay, the time is now
5:12.
5:12. Call the meeting to order. And can we have a roll call, please, Madam Secretary?
Yes, we can. Lynn Finley,
Here.
Paul Garza,
Here?
Paul Katzif, Jan McGorty,
Present.
and Susan Savage here.
Okay,
All
before we
present.
begin, again, apologize that the Adventist Health had 2 days of seminars in this room. They were working on some very important strategic initiatives to boost the quality of the services of the hospital, and they didn't complete till 4 o'clock, so it made it very difficult for us to get set up in time. So we're doing the best we can.
I did it.
Okay. With that, we're open for public comment. Any public comment on anything that's not on the agenda today? Okay, I see no one in the room. Anyone online?
we do not have any hands raised online, Chair.
Okay, great. Let's just move on. We're on to the consent calendar. There are 2 items on the consent calendar. The first is the draft minutes of our last board meeting, and the second is to join the California Healthcare Districts. And anybody want to pull an item there? Okay, seeing none. All right. Before we go any further, we have the public comment on the consent calendar. Okay, hearing none, then do we have a motion to approve?
I would move that we adopt the consent calendar.
Okay, second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Okay, any comment from board members? Discussion from board members? Okay, roll call vote then, please.
Okay, Paul Garza,
Yes?
Paul Katzif, Jan McGorty.
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
And Susan Savage, yes. Lynn Finley,
Yes.
approved.
Okay, going on to item 4 now, reports. So I'm up first on this. Before I go any further, I do want to say, it's not in my report, but I was very pleased to look at the Becker's report yesterday morning that came through. And one of the features was an article on the highest hospitals in the United States rated for cleanliness. And among those, I was delighted to see, among the 374 named, reading the highest standard of cleanliness was Adventist Health Mendocino Coast.
And that's because of Peter.
I think largely, and I'm sure, that's why I'm looking that way. But anyway, congratulations. It was really a pleasure to see that kind of thing. So hopefully we'll see more of it. Going through the top issues, Medicaid is still a huge worry. I think for all of us, we're concerned about these cuts to Medicare and but also to but Medicaid primarily. Now, it's estimated currently that over 1,000 rural hospitals in the United States will close if the proposed Medicaid cuts are enacted. It's hard to imagine our hospital continuing to provide high quality level of service that it does, much less remain open if these proposed cuts actualize. So the discussion is anywhere from complete removal to 50% removal to some people 30% removal. Anyway, they'd all be pretty much very hard on us. Additionally, there's some discussion that's going on about a work requirement to receive Medicaid benefits. A recent report suggests that the work requirement would eliminate as many as 1.2 million California residents from the Medi-Cal program because, of course, Medicaid in California is Medi-Cal. We have no estimate on the impact of our community at this point, but I would assume, given the level of income that we have in our community, it will be devastating. And it's also important to remember that Medicaid is a program specifically designed to assist low-income and disabled individuals. Okay, now, the second item is that we have spent some time working on this, what's called the Voluntary Rate Range Program, or better known as intergovernment transfers, and this district has had an interesting history with it. As you will recall, we thought it worthwhile to see if we might be able to participate in that program. This is a very special program for California to maximize federal Medicaid funding by using intergovernment transfers from eligible public entities that then draw down additional federal matching funds, ultimately supporting the provision of healthcare services to Medi-Cal beneficiaries. Prior to affiliation, our district participated in this program. We contracted with Health Management Associates to explore if we were eligible, with the potential of receiving an additional $8 million. This has gone back and forth a bit, but Health Management Associates is reporting to us that we might be eligible, but they don't think it's likely we could participate in this additional funding stream again. Such participation, if we were to, would almost certainly interfere with the funding currently being received by Adventist Health from Medi-Cal for the operation of our hospital. It appears, therefore, that if we were to participate, it would be a zero-sum kind of option. That is, we might receive funding, but it would take away current funding from Adventist Health. From a point of view of both common sense and our contractual agreements, interference with Adventist Health payments and or reimbursements would seems to be very inappropriate. Next item, an important one, is standing committees. I'm really pleased to report that 2 of our standing committees are functioning very well and getting sufficient, significant work done. And I'm glad to report you also that a Finance Committee meeting is scheduled, I believe, next month?
Next Monday.
Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
Next week?
Yeah, next week.
Okay, great. Next week, very soon. And so we'll have all 3 of them out and functioning, and that will give us a broader input from the community and an opportunity to have more people look at what we're doing and participate. Lastly, I wanted to let you know that next Monday I'm presenting to the Seroptimists and on May 12th to the Fort Bragg Rotary Club. We continue to look for more opportunities to communicate with community groups. And again, if you know of any group that's interested in learning about our work with the hospital, please let us know. You can either contact me or Kathy Wiley, but we're really pleased to do that. So that's my report. So let me move on now to I guess we have Peter Johnson up for a facilities report.
Are you good, Peter?
No, it won't let me share.
It's amazing, all these people do it off their
Can you
phones.
make
I
him
have
a co-host?
no idea how to do that.
Make him a co-host.
Thank you, Marshall.
I hope Peter's looking for something, not playing the game.
He's not playing video.
Not playing a video, I'm trying to pull up our PowerPoint here.
Okay.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
And get that out of the way. All right, well, thank you for the patience getting this set up. So I just wanted to give a very brief report from facilities for April. Took some pictures of the construction that's going out. This is the HVAC project. We've got a crane lift there in the middle. We lifted the temporary unit into place there behind the cargo container. And that's Peterson Mechanical doing the work. And then you'll see on the left there a little temporary air intake there. And then going up the side of the building, we'll run those 2 silver snakes, it looks like. Those will go up into the ductwork that feeds into the emergency department. And as we there's 3 units on the emergency department and 1 on the lab. As each unit is replaced, we'll take the old unit out of service, we'll hook up this temporary ductwork and keep the building operational and air conditioned. Another thing we got completed just recently was we did some upgrades to the fire system, actually repairs and maintenance, and then a seismic upgrade for, there's a connector between the riser and the building that is now flexible. And then we replaced about 200 sprinkler heads. A lot of those were 50 years old. And then some of the pipe risers were rusted away and leaking in the ceiling, so we got those taken care of. So good work to get the fire system up to compliance. We did our biannual hands-on fire training. It was kind of exciting. We had a team come in from Jensen Hughes, taught every single one of our staff in person. These are some photos of the OR training where the staff learns how to put out a fire in the OR, which is not an uncommon occurrence, but at our hospital it's never happened. But everybody's been trained on how to do that.
Okay.
Anyway, oxygen-rich environments are specifically important. So anyway, this is kind of fun. Fun day of training. Feel like we learned a lot. And then, as Paul had mentioned, we were recognized as one of the Becker's 374 of the cleanest hospitals in the country. I looked at that list, and it's an impressive list. So our EVS team is the best. There's some photos of our staff, and they're the reason that we got the cleanest hospital award. So anyway, that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Peter, I'd like to mention, first of all, thank you, but also Peter's being a little humble here. Peter got 2 hospitals on that list. Both Howard Hospital and this hospital were on that list. So
That's good.
major congratulations. Yeah. The only one, I think, to get 2 on the list.
Yeah, that was the Howard team for sure.
Okay. Okay, then we have now the Planning Committee report from Jan McGordy, Director McGordy.
So there's a written report in your packet. We had a meeting this last Monday, and Dudley Campbell from the Divinity Group gave an extensive summary of all some of the reports that have been done on the hospital. We've managed to get the plethora of all the reports that exist in one place now, I think. And then it said they were talking about a facility inventory and talking with Peter about doing that. So hopefully they can get in touch with Peter to do that. And we're going to have another meeting on Monday where we'll take a look at the alternate plan for a new facility that Divinity had kind of a stock plan for, and we'll review our scope of work again because it needed revision. So it'll be next Monday at 2 because there was a conflict from the usual 1 o'clock, and then we'll go back to our regular schedule on April 17th at 1 o'clock in the Neve Cannon Room. We met in the Neve Cannon Room for the first time. It was very exciting.
Very, very interesting experience. Good. Okay.
Questions? Are we allowed to?
Yes, sure.
Okay. I'm curious whether, because we had talked about being in a position to make, I don't know how final is final, but a decision about which direction we're going by July. And I'm curious whether it feels to you that we're still kind of on track for having the information that we need in order to make that decision here at the board level by July. Does that still?
I think we can make a decision by July. We're still gathering all kinds of information.
Okay.
So, yeah. I don't
Okay.
know if we'll be ready to submit.
Okay, and then I guess this is a question for all of us and for Paul in terms of how do you see that happening? Because it makes sense to me, because the people who've been able to go to the planning committee, I'm gathering, are hearing and seeing things from Devaney, et cetera, that the rest of us haven't seen. And so I'm wondering if there might be something of a 2-step process to have an extended meeting where the rest of us get caught up with what you've seen, what you've learned, what you're recommending, and then some time for people to think about it, et cetera, ask questions, find out more before we actually take a vote. And I
Well,
don't know if that makes sense as a process,
All of
or
the,
if you're
all the
envisioning it
report-
differently.
All the reports are online to look at, and we were going to go back to the idea of having a community meeting to talk about this in extent. So at that point, everybody will get the information, I think.
Well, let me point out, first of all, that every report that Devaney reviewed, he did for the committee to bring them up to date, but they've all been received by the board. They're all older reports. There wasn't anything
Correct.
new.
Correct.
So we have all of those. So what it was bringing effectively the committee members up to date with everything that has been done in the past.
Well, and I
Does
would
that help?
suggest that what's also helpful is some level of discussion between us, given that I'm assuming that conversations have been had or questions have been asked as you've been presented information from Devaney or whoever you're getting information from that would be helpful, particularly since I'm going to guess, no matter which direction we're going, we need the community to come along with us.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
since,
If I could ask you maybe to
Yes.
hold that question till after my report, and I have some answers for you
okay,
and a timeline.
okay, possible.
Okay. But I do think, your point is absolutely well taken. We want to have we want to make sure there's a very broad discussion, because it's going to be critical to I mean, this is the most important thing we're going to do. Yeah, clear.
Agreed.
Understand that, okay. Okay, any other questions from board members? Okay, let's move on then. The thrift store ad hoc, as Paul or Susan, which one of you were prepared to report tonight?
Is that okay? Okay, so we have had a meeting that we held just this last, on April 23rd. We had about 7 people in attendance. We sent out invitations to various people from various constituencies, and 7 people came. Interesting, because we're going to be talking later about another group that is kind of going in a very similar direction, because it appears that great minds think alike. That one of the conversations at our meeting was the lack of connection between various hardworking people and organizations and not knowing who's doing what. That was it. We were talking about the thrift store, and it's not only about being a thrift store for hospice, but it's also a resource center for medical equipment, for instance, and a place for people to come together. That it's about more than just the dollars and cents of the thrift store, and that came out in our meeting. So it feels like there are multiple entities in the town that are talking about how we need to connect with each other and be more aware of all of the resources and work together. And it could be that the thrift store is kind of a catalyst for that conversation and could be very much part of it. We talked about just the shared history. And I think it's already been shared with you, that document that Cynthia Wall wrote that outlines going way, way back how we got to where we are, which was very helpful and important. There was a discussion of all the various barriers that are out there to providing resources for people, that coordination and discussion could be possible to address. We talked about different frameworks for what kind of structure, what kind of framework would be helpful to pull all of these resources together, possibly centering around the thrift store, and then what homework still needs to be done to know more. For instance, there was a whole discussion about volunteer coordination, and apparently the city of Fort Bragg has a desk that has volunteer coordination, and we want to know more about that. Is that something that goes beyond just how you volunteer for the city, or is it all the various organizations? And we need to know more about that. And so we have planned another meeting for May 28th at 4 o'clock, exploring a location, but there's a place called the Gathering Place in the company store building that might be available, so that might be where it happens. But all of us at the meeting were tasked with thinking about who else needed to be in the room in order to continue that discussion and see where we can go with it. So a very good, very worthwhile thing, and very good for the healthcare district to be part of that conversation. And, oh, please.
Paul, right in your mic.
We saw the hospice store as being recognized in the community as being a place where the elder part of this community relates to, and the question came up about the last 3 years of funds that have been funneled into Adventist Health. Because this place makes profit, and it also just makes income and then hands the money into the bank every day and doesn't find out what has happened to it. So there's no relationship between supply and demand, between costs and revenues, at least not at the store. And that was seen as a problem for planning and for understanding how we go forward. So that's one issue that really needs to be resolved. We also made it clear that the Mendocino Coast Healthcare District Board had no interest in operating the store, which I would assume is still correct, or maybe because it was correct a while ago. And so that's and we wanted to segue from the concept of hospice to the concept of elder care and elder advocacy. That seems to be the focus right now. I just wanted to add those few comments.
Okay, sounds good. I can give you one more additional comment. I had a conversation yesterday with Therese Courtney, who's from Adventist Health, is the supervisor.
Yeah.
And she informs me that Adventist Health would very much like to not continue to operate that.
Excellent, because that was one of the homework things, is to find out where they're at. It
appears that your work is really quite timely.
Could I ask you a question? The last time I spoke to Therese was about 3 weeks ago. She told me that she was not a decision maker, and it was Jeff Stephanie, M-O-C,
MOCK.
yeah, that she would have to check with him in terms of the status and whether they were willing to let it go. So did she give you the feeling that she had already discussed this?
She didn't say she talked to Jeff Mock. I suggest you get back to her. I just wanted to add, I just happened to be in a meeting with her yesterday, and we talked about it. And I thought it was interesting that, because I didn't have that clear sense of it before, but she was it seemed to be very clear in her mind, and so that's why I'm just sharing it. But I'm going to encourage you to give her a call, and she's quite open and easy to talk to, so it's a good thing. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. If any more questions of the board? Okay, Kathy, your
Thank
report,
you.
please.
Yeah, so apologize for slipping this in late. I usually am working on my staff report until I have to drive up here. And today, Marshall and I both ran into traffic because of the Jack Peters Creek. So anyway, I'm going to try and get them to you earlier in the day, but here we are. I wanted to just point out a couple things at the top of the calendar. This weekend, Assemblyman Chris Rogers is here, Casper Community Center at noon on Sunday, April 27th, and that's being sponsored by the Grassroots Institute and the League of Women Voters. And quite a range of subject matter on the plate there. The May 5th is the Measure C next meeting. With Measure C, they have agreed on all of the cost accounting, all the figures. They need to see copies of the invoices to go through and pick out items that, out of a bigger list, that match Measure C. So that's the plan for that meeting, but finance and accounting wise, everybody is in full agreement. thank you, Peter, and your staff for getting invoices and work done on that. May 12th is the Planning Committee regular meeting at 1 o'clock. May 22nd is our next board meeting regular. And then May 27th, I'm sorry, this should be planning again. And that's just tentative because I noticed that, there's a holiday on the 26th. Memorial Day, so I'll check with the group on that. In terms of the seismic retrofit, I appreciate the comments that you made earlier about how we're gonna make this decision, how we're gonna tell the public about it. And I want you to know that the Planning Committee and the Finance Committee are going to focus generally on only this topic. What I would like to do is bring to the next meeting a proposal for a board workshop. And it would be a 3 or 4 hour event where we would discuss the pros and cons of the seismic retrofit versus a possible new build on a hospital. And as Jan pointed out, there's a lot of information to gather. And I hope, well, I have to have in front of this board to make the decision all the things about the building, right? And also all the things about how to finance it. So you will hear more about that in the Finance Committee, but my plan is to have an early summertime workshop, at least one, possibly a series, depending on how it goes, so that you are ready and equipped to start making a decision in July or August or September. And you'll see why that matters timeline-wise, not only because every month we wait, it costs more money, but also because if we actually do decide to do something, we may need to finance it through a bond, and so that means we need to go to the electorate and ask for money. So I have I'm getting ahead of myself here, so let me finish this report. As I said, the Finance Committee is going to meet next week on Wednesday. They're charged also with developing a budget, a board recommendation for this upcoming fiscal year, so that'll be one of the first tasks. And then also studying the open contracts that the board has right now and the financial ramifications of the seismic retrofit project and the development, most importantly, of an RFP process and a policy recommendation to this board about how to hire how to hire consultants, et cetera, for the seismic work. So stay tuned on that. There's a lot coming. In community outreach and engagement, I attended the Coastal Connections Community Health and Wellness Collaborative, and that was at the Coast Clinic. And this work supports the ad hoc work that Director Finley was talking about 1 or 2 meetings ago, and also the work that Director Katzeff has discussed for 2 years, maybe more, and what you mentioned about the thrift shop ad hoc. So the point of it is to bring local organizations together to better understand what they do, what they need, and where there are gaps in services, funding, or staff in the areas of food availability, transportation, and health. The group discussed important topics like preventing illness, supporting the local economy, helping workers get more training, giving young people more support, and making sure seniors don't feel alone. One of the suggestions in the group was to model a volunteer network similar to one called Hands on Bay Area, which the food bank uses. So, you know, I didn't know about the Fort Bragg one, so that we'll follow up on that one too. And Miranda Ramos is creating she's updating the list of local healthcare providers. And I was told that she's in the final stages of getting that list, and the plan is to get that list also online. And so a function that this district could do is promote, hey, did you know that resource is here? We can link it to our website, etc. Dr. William Miller drafted a mission statement, which is attached to the report. I won't read it all. And we talked about a tagline around that. And So we are meeting once a month for the next 4 months. And I think the next meeting's first week in May. So I'll give you information on that. And then I wanted to point out that Foundation Chair Terry Ramos let me know today that the foundation has just funded the purchase of defibrillators for use in each of the patrol cars for the Fort Bragg Police Department. The foundation provides critical and timely support through grants and volunteerism that directly aid the mission and needs of our clinics, hospitals, volunteer fire departments, and health and wellness agencies. They also provide direct support to nursing students, impoverished cancer care patients, and community health and wellness education initiatives. You can support the work by donating or by attending the 40th anniversary of Wine Song, and I give you a link to that too. And Terry, the date of that is?
September 5th and 6th.
4 months away, coming right up. And then lastly, I'm sorry that the slide quality isn't very good. We're working on a slide presentation to go out into the public and to have uniform information to talk to the public. One of the slides is about annual revenue and annual expenses, all in one place. So you get a snapshot of what the district did, how the district runs. So just to run through those, the rental income is $2.95 million annually. Measure C parcel tax is about $1.5 million. The base parcel tax that they collect is $950,000, and our investment income right now is around $600,000 annually. And then expense-wise, our operating expenses are around $600,000. Our payments on our debt is, I believe it was $730,000 on that number. I'm sorry, I can't read it either. And then our repairs and maintenance, I had mentioned a higher figure. The repairs and maintenance is about $2.6 million annually, and that's looking at our cost over the last nearly 5 years of operations since affiliation. And then, as I said, we're trying to determine what a new build would cost versus the seismic retrofit. So I don't have a number on that yet, and that's the magic question. Flipping over, I talked about a timeline too. Part of the reason that, besides waiting, because we've been waiting and waiting for this decision, part of the reason for a timeline is that if you need to go to the voters, you need to have certain timelines met to put a bond issue on the ballot. And so Robin has prepared this timeline that marches backwards to let you know. We talked about a timeline where we run a ballot issue if needed in June, or if it's smarter to wait until November, probably. So November 26th. And there's 2 timelines in there. I won't go through them, but I encourage you to take this home and study them, because if you look at the timeline, we're going to ask you to make a decision July, August, probably no later than September, because we have to get going on how we get the bond happening. That didn't come out very gracefully, sorry about that. And then lastly, the Mendocino Coastal Connections Charter. This was written by Dr. Miller. The group has not wordsmithed it yet, but it's a pretty good standalone document, and it basically points out that from Westport to Gualala on the coast and inland to Comchi is the district. That's mostly us, and we understand that we are going to have greater reliance upon local resources, both human and financial. And so we are resolving to work together to promote community wellness, broadly defined as a state of physical and mental well-being in our residents, economic stability in the community, prevention of avoidable illness and deaths, including from substance use and suicide, encouraging curiosity, kindness, and emotional development of our youth, and assisting seniors in continuing to live meaningful and healthy lives as they age. And then you can see some of the other bullet points. But the idea is exactly what Susan and Paul said earlier today, that everyone is realizing that there's a gap and trying to figure out how to fill this gap. And so I'm planning to continue on and happy to have you guys, I'll drag you along if you like, because we are also tasked with bringing others along to develop this idea. Sure, Paul.
Okay, any questions for Kathy?
Yeah. The- My question is related to, I think it's the first paragraph about gathering, bringing engagement of local organizations together. And I think that's a limit to what exists. As you know, I have been promoting the idea of bringing the allopathic medical community together with the wellness community. And we even had a seminar last September that brought together various aspects of the community, but they were not organizations. They were individuals who practice wellness of all different kinds. So my question is, how inclusive or exclusive is this paragraph?
I don't have an answer for that, and I would not speak for the group. Like I said,
Can I make a recommendation?
I'll bring your comments to that
Or
group if you'd
why
like.
don't we encourage, Director Kessa, we encourage you to attend and make your case with them. That would be the most direct way, I think, to work with it. This is just a think piece, I
This is
think.
only a draft, yeah.
I'm trying to delegate.
Yeah. I'm happy to bring your comments, and I don't know the answer to that one.
But I'd like to know when the next.
Yeah.
I will let you know, yes.
Yeah, I plan on attending myself, just because it kind of mirrors or
Yeah.
dovetailing with what I was thinking about the ad hoc committee.
Could you,
Well,
tell me how the evolution of this committee occurred? I mean, it's nice to know the beginnings of something.
Actually, Terry, you want to help me out on that? Terry's the one that dragged me into this.
Sure, so it actually just started with a few organizations wanting to get together and talk about this. Where are the gaps? And more and more people have been coming every meeting, so that's all truly it's been. And I think one of the biggest things is not just identify the gaps, how do you get this information out to the community in a good way so people understand what services are provided and then what gaps need to be filled? And I can tell you when the next meeting is. It is May 1st.
That's
Oh,
right.
May Day, okay.
May 1st,
Where?
12:30 at
At
MCC,
And
Coast
then-
Clinic.
Director Savage, you want to be recognized?
Well, yeah, kind of along the same line. How open is this meeting? Because I'm wondering about the people who were in the room when we met, who all have constituencies and groups that they're working with. Is this you all come? Is this by invitation? What
No,
is the,
it's
and who's
not.
organizing it and who do we ask?
Mary KAKX is facilitating, and so I can
She's
put you.
part of Healthy Mendocino.
Healthy Mendocino, yeah.
UKI. And we are free to bring anybody else that we think would be value to the discussion.
Okay,
So to go in are free to bring anybody
so,
and encouraged to.
so we can go through you if
Sure.
we, okay.
Absolutely.
Got it.
What I'll do is I'll send the information to the group because they're also planning lunch, so you can organize lunches, everything.
okay.
I'll just send it to all of you.
Okay, that would be great. The other thing that I think our group talked about is not only identifying gaps and communicating to the public, but that what we felt is different organizations don't know what other organizations are doing. And I've got somebody that needs this, but what are the resources out there? So we can resource for each other, which was, I'm assuming, also part of your conversation.
That's exactly the baseline foundation of what that ad hoc committee was that I was wanting to form myself. Since they're already doing it, there's no sense duplicating what's already being done. So
Right.
that's why I want to attend these meetings and see how we can then bring in the community. And bring maybe have a forum where we actually have this discussion in a larger, like a the civic center or the town hall or something where the community can come and listen to what we're discovering as far as the gaps and what organizations are out there and what's available.
And, Chair, can I?
Yes, go ahead. You're still.
Friends of Health, Cynthia Walls is, I think, the executive director or the chairman of the board. She has been working on a list of all the organizations in the community that deal with healthcare issues, and has a website that is not as interactive as she would like. You know about this?
I know about this.
Okay, so I'll say no more.
Okay, any more questions from the board, comments? Okay, public comment on the reports? Mr. McDonald?
So, two things. The contract with Health Management Associates was discussed and voted on by the full board back at the January board meeting. So I think that if it's going to be canceled, it needs to come before the full board to have, an agenda item. Otherwise, you end up, no matter what the dollar amount of a contract is, and there are some provisos in the bylaws about powers of officers regarding dollars amounts, larger and less than. Otherwise, we end up in kind of an autocratic system where specific officers of the board are making decisions that the full board initially made, and they could be contradicting those against the wishes or essentially without the knowledge of the full board. And speaking of without the knowledge, and under the understanding that not everybody reads the Anderson Valley Advertiser, and since Kathy brought up Robin Garrity in her report, in early September of last year, the contract with Props and Measures, which was originally made in October of 2023, and the original intent was for them to be doing work on a potential bond for 2024. Anyway, that contract was changed, adjusted, amended, renewed, whichever word fits. I think amended is probably the one that's in the emails that I saw. But that contract, again, initially was approved with full discussion from the entire board in October of 23, and including public comments. And the same situation is applying here, that a decision was made. The only people that the emails that I read show having knowledge of the amended contract are the chair, the agency administrator, and Ms. Garrity, and obviously she passed it on to higher ups at Props and Measures.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
They're saying that they cannot hear that mic.
Okay, I just turned things up a little bit.
Okay.
Thank you. So that's, thanks, Marshall. That's, a roughly analogous situation, and I just think it's part of an overall problem on this board where we have things happening behind the scenes. It's fine to be having maybe meetings with Dr. Miller and other experts, and then coming back and reporting about it, that's good. But these decision-making things that happen behind the scenes without the full board and without the public knowing, it's not acceptable.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Do we have any more comments on our reports this evening? Okay, anybody online? Miss Alley? Okay.
No hands raised online.
Okay, then let's move on to new business. First item of business is basically our financial report, the receive and file check register, actual budget, treasury bill inventory portfolio, summary of cash balances. Mr. Allen.
Thank you. Kathy, what you got? The cash balances first? Okay.
Do that, Wayne. Let me get the check.
we go get the check register. Oh, okay.
There you go.
Okay, for the month of March, this is the activity electronically, and that went through the financial records and the um, creditors that got paid. Primarily, if you look at the first one, is almost 14,000. Go to the last entry, Kathy, down at the bottom, Bank of New York, 47. So both of those are total about $61,000. They're debt repayments, and they're 2/3 of our operation expenses for the month of March. The other large item is the billing from the DCA public auditors on doing the audit. There's a lot of extraordinary expense that are happening because of our lack of financial records. So that's going to be a huge item, and it's going to be way over budget. And it's not completed yet, and we're still chipping away at it. The other items are routine you've seen before. McGee got behind in their billing, so you see 2 months of billings there, and otherwise, and then in there, the new entry there would be Health Management Associates, and that's for the consulting fee regarding IGT and whether we're qualified, and that was a progress billing through March, and I think we'll have a few more dollars that they've spent in April, but at the moment that agreement is frozen. That we have it that they are taking a pause at our insistence that we stop the consulting fee for a while and maybe forever. So we'll see. So total for the month, Kathy, down at the bottom is 92,000. Let's go to the page of the actual versus budget. I carry that 90. I carried that 92,000. You go down to the bottom of this page, Kathy, and I put it into the various categories against where we have budget. And it's a routine profit and loss report that you've seen 3 or 4. Well, you've seen it all of this fiscal year with the 3 months of current on the left, and then on the right, the 3 months or the year to date, and we're at a point now of 9 months of activity through March. And so, and for the month of March, we're below. If you go starting at the top, month of March, we're below under budget by 202,000. That's a lot. Basically, that's caused by the Measure C tax revenue has not been released in March, and we've not received the property tax revenue. Both of those items will flow through the April report. So we'll, and then year to date, we're under, so that will be rectified and corrected in the month of April. The investment in income is lagging. It's high in March because we had 3 maturities, but year to date it's low, and that'll catch up because we've got a lot of interest income on, but that hasn't matured. So down below in number 3, the expenses are $7,900 under budget, favorable, and year to date they're a whopping 101,000 favorable under budget. And then and the number of 4 area, those are those debt repayments that I mentioned about Bank of New York and the Help to loan. So next page is the Treasury portfolio. And the first page there, whoops, too much, shows the yeah, can you minimize it a little bit, Kathy? Okay, it's a current activity, current portfolio as of the month of March, as of March 31. We have a par value that's invested of 13,625,500. The par value, we purchased it at 13,480,000. The next column, the difference is the interest income that I mentioned will mature of 145,000. We're still on the far right. We're still very short term when we've got what I call longer term, but they're short term investments. The 17-week expired in April, and the 26-week is expiring not until June. And what's happening now is I'm reinvesting in 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and 13 weeks, keeping it very, very short term. And that has not budged much with the interest rate. It's sitting at 4.3 and has not moved for the last 6 weeks really much. So the longer 17 weeks and 26 weeks have come down. And then when you get into treasury bonds, which we don't invest in, they're under 4%. They're going for 3.8% and so forth. So we're maximizing the interest income at 4.3%. And you go down on the left then, Kathy, that 425,522 has been reinvested. If you take and look at what I've done, we started with 13,200,000. Go up, Kathy, to right above that, the 13,625,000. We started with 13,200,000. That interest as it matures, I reinvest it. So I've got 425,500 that's been reinvested to maximize that. So it's compounding the interest income every maturity. So that's a good thing. So second page and is the maturities, historical maturity records. You can see way back in June and August and all that, and October, we were getting 5.3 yields, and now it's down at the bottom there. It's the 4.3 that are coming in now, so that are maturing. So next slide is the cash balance. Okay, hold on. This is the report I pull at the end of every month, and it tells us that we've got, this is the U.S. Treasury, tells us that we got on deposit a par value of 13,625,500, exactly what's on my portfolio list. Next, cash balances. We have in the Tri-Counties Bank, the Measure C money, and it's at 970,000. That will be reduced in April, and the balance will be 50,000. The Measure C committee agreed upon, and the 920,000 has been transferred into the operating account of the district, which is go down a little bit, Kathy, for the 282,000. That's getting low, but it came up in April with that transfer, so that's good. And then our treasury notes, I mentioned before, what the cost on it is, and so it's the 13,480,000 is the immediate cash, and then it matures to be the 13,625. So our total, and then we've got the LAIF account down to 625. So our total cash that's under district management is 15,358,000. End of my report. Any comments or questions?
Thank you, Wayne. I had a couple of questions. You mentioned the difficulty the auditors are having dealing with missing information, and I didn't know if you could explain a little bit more about what is going on there, what they're missing and what they're having to do to deal with that, and.
Yes, Susan, I can mention what's happening is the lack of a standard set of books and income statement, balance sheet, general journal entries, and all that was missing. There's no foundation books that an auditor looks for. They're not existing. And then the supporting documents that go with that, primarily in our case, it's the checking accounts. We had way too many checking accounts and 4 or 5 banks and 25 accounts or so. And those statements are very hard to get from each bank. They charge us $1,000 or $2,000 to reproduce them. So we're having to go through that and write letters and support it. And then the auditors are going through every single account for the month from, July of 2020 through June of 21, 12 months. They're going through every single monthly checking account for that because they're concerned that about the lack of records and what that causes, and it borders on a forensic audit, and so that is the case, and we're dealing with it. It's a slow process. It's no fault on the auditors. The fault belongs on us, and so we're getting through it, but it is a bad situation.
Yeah, understood. An estimate by when they might complete that?
Well, I've given wrong estimates on it. I keep saying 2 or 3 months, and but I think I mean it this time. I think they can get it done, hopefully before June 30th of this year, before the end of another fiscal year. And the promise out there, this will make the next 3 years easier, this foundation that they're creating. But this first one is, I guess, laying the foundation, and then the sides of the wall can go up quickly for the subsequent years. But hopefully June 30, 3 months away.
Okay, wahoo. And I had one more question about the status of the Help 2 loan. Is that the one that has a relatively low balance, or am I confusing that with something else? Are we getting close to paying that off, or what's the status of that one?
Well, I'm rounding it off, but we pay $13,000 a month. Right. It is the smaller one, and the amortization on it is either, I think it's 29. It's either 29 or I've got that written on a report there, Kathy. If you see it, it's either 20. 29 or 30, so it's about 4 or 5 years away from being paid off. And pretty much same with our revenue bond, which is the higher one though, but, and there we make almost a $50,000 a month, payment to the Bank of New York. So they're both on a fast track for the next 4 years, and they'll be gone. We'll be debt-free, ready to take on more debt, so. So,
Okay, thank you.
That's a wonderful thing.
so, um,
Okay, more questions, Director Savage?
Not for me.
Okay, any direction? Okay. Okay, any public comment? Any comments on Ms. Alley online?
We do not have any hands raised online.
Okay, thank you. So with that, we need to have a motion to approve the report.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Director Katzif seconds. Okay, any discussion of the board members? Okay, roll call?
Paul Katza,
Yes.
yes. Jan McGordy,
Yes.
Susan Savage, yes. Lynn Finley,
Yes.
and Paul Garza.
Yes.
It's approved, or
you.
accepted, excuse me.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Allen. Can we now move on to this intriguing offer to buy New York stock and bond to offer the Sun Life stock in the amount of $34,151? Ms. Wiley, are you or Mr. Allen going to address this and explain all the details?
I can start it off and then we'll let the expert give advice.
Okay.
We received this in the mail. You saw March 21 was the date. It was an offer to purchase. What happened, I finally figured out, is that someone evidently donated Sun Life stock to the hospital when we were still the hospital, and it has remained in the Mendocino Coast District Hospital name ever since. And it is, the income, the stock value is about $30,000 and some change, and the income is around $440 a month. And this stock and bond company has offered to cash out that stock. And that's the big extent of what I know. I think Wayne could probably better advise you about what to do, whether
Okay.
to accept this offer or not.
Mr. Allen?
yeah, well, my comment about it is that it appeared as a donation to the hospital way back in about 2011, 14, 15 years ago. It was donated to the hospital. It should have been sold at that time because we don't play the stock market and so forth, but other priorities, and we were getting dividend checks of 400, 500, 600 annually, and it was put on the back burner. So it is time to sell it, get rid of it. And I don't even know the name of the donor. It would be in the records somewhere, but that's the history on it. It's a Canadian company, and so.
So your recommendation would be to
So,
accept the offer?
Yes, yes, let's take the offer and get rid of it, and because like I said, we're not in the stock market game.
Cat's off, it's
I
the
see
green
it
one.
is.
In the middle, the
Yeah.
purchase offer is $34,151.
What's the face value at this time on the exchange? What are we discounting? 4 hours?
I don't think there's a discount there. I could get you that information, but I think that is the face value. I don't think that they're discounting it.
So
Wayne,
the-
do you have a current total of the face value of the stock?
No, I don't even know which exchange it's quoted on or something, so no, we can look that up, but it's, these type of buybacks are pretty close to market value, because the company can't buy it back and at a discount because you could go out into the stock exchange and sell it. So it'll be close to face value at market value. So
Yeah, I didn't realize it was a buyback by the company that issued it, so Wade's right.
So we're,
I just want, there would
It's a
be
good
no,
question.
there would be no discount. if it was-
Director McGordy?
Yeah, I just have a question because I'm totally ignorant. So they have
speak into your mic.
shares and they want us to reinvest in that company? Is that the way it's working?
No,
No.
someone made a donation of stocks to the hospital many, many years ago.
I understand.
And I don't know why we weren't accounting for it. Don't think we were unaware of it, which is unfortunate, but nonetheless, that's the case. And this is just an offer to buy that stock, and that's with that
They're
money
gonna
would
give
come
us
to
the
us.
money.
They give us money?
They would pay us.
$34,151.
It's not reinvesting into their company? It's
No.
not getting the
No,
money
they're
and giving it back?
reinvesting. They're
No.
buying back their shares.
That's
I
all.
see.
That's right.
That's all.
Okay.
Then we could reinvest it. Wayne could reinvest it for us.
Yeah, it could go right into T-bills. We have been tracking it all along. We've been aware, this is not a surprise. What's a surprise is they're asking to buy the stock back.
We got too
Okay,
much
well,
cash.
I stand corrected. I hadn't seen it in our financials as an item,
Yeah.
so I assumed that okay.
Okay.
Okay, so any more questions from the board at this point? Okay, comments from the public? Anyone online?
No hands raised online.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we accept their offer of $34,151.
Okay, is there a second?
A second.
Okay, Director Finley seconded. Okay, at this point, any further board discussion? Okay, seeing none, roll call, please, Madam Secretary.
Okay, Jan McGordy?
Yes?
Susan Savage, yes. Lynn Finley?
Yes.
Paul Garza?
Yes?
Paul Katzif?
Yes.
Approved.
Okay, thank you. Now we're on to item 5C. This is a consider a ballot for the Local Area Formation Commission, often just referred to as LAFCO. It's an alternate member candidate election. We have the right to vote for, as a board, one of two candidates. You go to your, there's a statement with a very brief bio in the back about each of the candidates. They are Adam Gaska and Dave Schback. That's how it's pronounced? Schback? Okay. Okay, that's interesting. Okay. And now open for any, for discussion, comments from the board. Yes, Director Savage.
Okay, I just wanted to make a comment or maybe an advocacy point, if that's appropriate, in favor of Adam Gaska. I've worked with him on a number of different things. He's been in the community for a long, long time. He's definitely a dot the i's, cross the t's kind of guy. And he's a bulldog for sure, and I think he would be a really good advocate. I understand that the other gentleman is down in Wallala, so it's not that somebody's like right here in our neck of the woods anyway. And I just think that Adam would be a great advocate at the local government level, and so I would encourage us to support him.
Okay, Director McGordy.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. I think he's been here a long time. He's put a lot into the community. And, I mean, the other guy has a great resume, but Adam's worked really hard here, and I think that we should support him.
Okay, any further comments? Okay, do we have any public comment on either one of these candidates? Mr. McDonald.
Not so much on the candidates, one way or the other, but I think that in the future, it would be good to have this, not that the support staff doesn't have a million things to do already, but to have this farther in advance, because the deadline, you'd have to vote on it now or have a special meeting before the deadline, to have this farther in advance so that the knowledge about them the candidates, when it is more than just, picking one for one, could be heard, and even, they might even want to come here and, give their spiel on why they're, Adam is better than Dave or vice versa. Thank you.
Can I just note that I received this email the day that I had to publish the agenda last month, or I would have been in front of you sooner.
Yeah, okay, thank you for the comment. Okay, any more comments? Okay, any further discussion about, from the board about either one of these candidates? Okay, do we have, therefore, a motion? Director Savage, I assume one is coming?
I would like to move that we support Adam Gaska for the alternate position.
I'd like to second it.
Okay, McGordy, second. Okay, should we go to roll call?
Okay? Susan Savage, yes. Lynn Finley?
Yes.
Paul Garza?
Yes?
Paul Katzett?
I'll abstain.
And Jen McGordy?
Yes.
Okay.
So it carries.
Okay, we're now at comments from the board. Do we have any comments from the board this evening?
Yeah.
Director Katzif?
At the last meeting, I brought up the meeting before as well.
Sorry, Paul, Director, thank you. Thank
Sorry.
you,
Why?
sir.
She wants to hear you.
I know.
We want to hear you.
Thank you. That validates the future content. 2 meetings ago and last meeting, I brought up the idea of bylaws change or modification relative to the appointment of the chair of this group. I don't know how I think we currently vote for a chair. And I think this has nothing to do with the current chair. I just think there's a better way to do to have a chair of a district board, and that's to rotate the chair every year. Now, the point of this is not to change a unqualified person, although right now we have a highly qualified person in the chair, but to give other members of the board the opportunity to share in the inside information that happens that is not necessarily hidden from the rest of the group, because that is not what's happening in my estimation. But there's a depth that comes from being on the board, and there's a depth from participating as the chair. And I think that it is a way to pass information along to a board that is voted every 2 years and every 4 years. It's the way it's done at city councils, it's the way it's done at the Board of Supervisors, and it's the way it's done in many other places, and for good reason. So I think that, and it's also done to stop power plays by, unscrupulous people on unscrupulous boards. It's sort of like the Brown Act is done for a particular reason. It doesn't mean that everybody who serves is guilty, but it's for protection of and sharing of information. So I have not prepared a detailed research report on how it's done, and I'm not going to ask the administrator to do any kind of research on this. I'm just bringing it up for discussion. I'd like to see it on the agenda at some point during my term as a board member, hopefully next month.
So, sometime in the next 4 years. Director Savage?
Would it be an appropriate vehicle then, because we have had in the past an ad hoc committee on bylaws, to have whoever it is that you'd like to do that, to do some homework, to come back with a recommendation, look at city council, look at the board of soups, look at various other models, and come back with some information so that we would have something to either act on or not, but a little more homework done on it. Would that be appropriate? Or I would be interested in that anyway.
If it's a question, it would have to be agendized to appoint an ad hoc.
Okay.
So what you're telling me is that we would need to defer till the next meeting in order to appoint an ad hoc to explore this?
Yeah, you can't, you can't appoint an ad hoc committee without it being an agenda item and the public knowing that that's
Okay.
what you're
Got
going
it.
to do.
Okay.
But in terms of a process, on whatever timeline, that for that to be considered, at least me as a board member, I would find it helpful that somebody could have an extended conversation and look
Sure.
into it.
Yeah, look at others.
To help us be more informed when we make a decision about it.
Yeah, especially if we looked at comparable special districts and how they operate and things like that, that would be really good. Okay. Okay, any other comments from the board this evening?
Is there consensus on that?
Um,
I just,
The fastest way to kill something is to study it to death.
Well, not necessarily.
Well, also, I think it's the best way to make decisions is to have good information, so. so-
Let's just say that I think it's important that we don't study it so long that I fall asleep, trying to convince this board of an idea that seems obvious to me, but maybe not obvious to everybody. Certainly, it's obvious to the public.
So the question at hand is there consensus amongst the 5 board members to put on the agenda, a future agenda, to consider an ad hoc committee on a bylaws review?
So we will agendize it for next month.
So that's the question. Is there a consensus to do that? So,
Is anybody else interested in that other than me?
I'd like to make a
Correct.
motion that we put on the agenda for next week that we
No,
create.
I think we need consensus here, Director.
yeah, no
That's all. We
motions
cannot
as it
vote.
wasn't on the agenda. This is board
Okay,
comment
sorry.
time, so consensus.
I
Yeah,
think
if there's
Director-
a consensus amongst the board to do that.
I think, so we have Director Savage and,
Yeah, I don't.
And
know
Director
that it needs
McGorty?
to be on the next agenda, but at some
Okay.
point in the not near future.
okay, so we have 2 people who are interested in serving, so let's,
It's always good to relook at bylaws and update them, so whether we put on the next agenda or in the future. that'd be
We
great.
cannot hear anyone except for the chair.
I'm just saying that, I think it's always good to do a bylaws review and to make sure that we're up to date and up to current standards. Whether it's on our agenda for next month or in the near future, I think that's a good idea.
yeah, so I'm fine with it, let's agendize it next month.
Okay.
So that's a consensus.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay.
Great, so consensus met to have it on a future agenda. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any more comments from board members? Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn then?
Oh,
I can't believe it, I'm pinching myself at 6:30, I mean, what's the matter with us?
You made a motion.
Okay, second,
did.
is there a
don't
second?
pinch yourself twice.
So is there a second?
I'll second that
Paul,
motion.
there you
Okay.
go. Okay.
Okay, can we
May
have a
I
roll
the
call?
roll? Okay, Lynn Finley
Yes.
and Paul Garza,
Yes,
Paul Katza,
Yes.
Jan McGorty,
Yes.
and Susan Savage, yes, we are adjourned.
okay.
And they took the clock down.
I have
Oh, no. Note that it's 6:29 p.m.
Yeah,
6 who?
629.
6:29 p.m.
My
World
God.
record.
Recording stopped.
So that makes
Was-
you